Hello, Mzansi. Welcome to it. It's Game On, brought to you by Hollywoodbets. And my oh my, do we not have a show in store for you this week? Firstly, let me start off with football royalty. Joining us later on in the show, Pitso Mosimane. Coach Pitso Mosimane, of course, will be joining us to talk about the life of Pitso Mosimane, his career so far, what he's up to right now. We'll also later on be talking to Jerry Skosana about the Hollywoodbets COSAFA Cup that's currently on out in Gqeberha. South Africa's involvement there is a big talking point. But we also do have another in the way of football and royalty, and that's, of course, Shane McGregor, just strikers in the way of my panel today, and top goal scorers, all of them. Shane, let's talk firstly about the huge loss to the Southern African football fraternity, Justin Shonga. The news that has just come through during the course of this week or earlier this week that he's passed away. A big loss for a man who still had a lot of football ahead of him and had contributed immensely to the Southern African game in the time he was here.
Yeah, unfortunately enough for the world, he's a youngster as well. That's the worst part. And condolences to all involved. And remembering my Pirates, but we all got to go sometime. But condolences to everyone there.
Yeah, untimely death indeed, and our thoughts and prayers here at Game On very much with the Zambian football fraternity and all of Southern Africa surely behind the Zambians in this difficult time. Now, we promise to have a look and continue to have a look at what's going on out in Europe with the UEFA Euro 2024. Big talking points in the 17th edition so far. What stood out from you for now? Just on the tournament as a whole, what has stood out for you, Shane?
Well, for me, is the unpredictable ability of the teams. There's been some very good teams and some very teams that have just gone through the motions and have struggled. For me, it's the smaller, so-called smaller nations catching up to everyone, and that's the big thing. I love that.
Big trend in world football. Yes. Morocco getting as far as they did in the World Cup, in the AFCON earlier in the year. In fact, including the Comoros team currently at the COSAFA Cup.
But that's what football's about.
Yeah.
You want the smaller nations, so-called smaller nations, to come through and raise the game, and make a scare and show people that we're here to play, not just be another number. And that's what's happening in this tournament. I mean, it's been brilliant. I've been watching as much as I can. I've actually got square house. I watch so much, but it's been good. And the bigger nations have been struggling, and that's been the big thing. Whether they're struggling or the other sides have caught up to them is another story.
I'd like to think the other sides are catching up. And last week, yes, I wasn't here. Brian was here, and thank you very much to him for holding it down for me. But you said Switzerland and Italy. I think you called Italy for that one, as did I, going in to watch that game. Big shock in Switzerland winning in the fashion that they did?
Sure, big shock for me. I watched that game, and I thought the Italians would get something over them. But sure. What I like about the Swiss team is the unity. They all play as one unit. They all seem to know exactly what the other players are doing. It's a unified team, and that's the big thing. It makes a big difference when you go into a tournament and you've got a team that's unified. And as that's shown it there.
Another team that over the years has been called a team for big tournaments. And they know how to handle themselves through different generations in big tournaments, the German machine.
Yeah.
The 2-0 win over Denmark, hard fought at some points. It wasn't all smooth sailing, bit of luck here and there with disallowed goals and VAR, but still the German machine rolling on.
Rolling on and just producing players year after year after year. Musiala, I mean, what a talent the young boy is. And I'm saying he's a young boy because that's what he is. And what a talent. And he's showcased himself there, different class. I think he's one of the better players of the tournament, I have to say.
Now, talk Portugal, talk Ronaldo, talk the drama that comes with Ronaldo whenever he does play. I mean, this guy misses a penalty, the eyes of the world are on him, the team is all around him, and everything he does seems to, I don't know if it's captured the imagination or just keep us glued onto the screens.
Keeps us glued. I mean, the way he cried after he missed the penalty.
Dramatic.
Went, after the game, and the players had to console him, but... Ronaldo's Ronaldo. We all know exactly where he is. At the end of the day, he's breaking records left, right and centre. A great player, always been a great player and always will be. But I'm going to say this, and people might not like it. I think Portugal would be a better player without him. If he sits on the bench and comes on, I think they'll be a better team.
You're not the first to have that sentiment. And now, England. Many have criticised England in what they've seen in this tournament. Many feeling maybe they're a bit lucky to get to where they are. Pulled it off late with a bit of brilliance, of course, from Jude Bellingham. But what do you think of England and the way they got through?
The only bit of brilliance the whole tournament so far from Bellingham. He's been disappointing. The whole team has been disappointing. I just feel that you're playing players because of their name, and that's not good enough for me. Playing players out of position. Foden's not used to playing in that position. He's got a lot of youngsters that are decent players. Why is he not playing them? He brought Mane in. He's showed a difference in the team. Why hasn't he been playing from the start? That's my difference. I mean, the centre-back has been brilliant for them, but very disappointing in England.
Now, before we get to the games that are happening today, I have to ask you about something we've seen from the Germans. We've also seen it from the English with Tony coming on. Is football going back to the old number 9, big striker that comes on and you just hang the ball up in the air and makes a difference in times of desperation? Are we moving back to what we thought was maybe a past trend in football?
Plan B.
Yeah.
That seems to be the plan B, is get the big boy on, knock the ball in,
Sure.
and hopefully get goal, which is a good thing. You know, we can't keep on playing. Spain have learned this, that you can't keep the ball and not go forward. Now they've learned it, they're going forward a lot more, they look a better team. So that's the way football's got to be played. You've got to get into their box, you've got to be putting the ball in there, get goals that way. Only way you're going to score goals is getting into their box. So I think that's plan B.
That's all about the different ways to break down opponents when times are tough. Now, have to ask you, England taking on Switzerland, your thoughts in that game. Is there going to be a big upset? And is it an upset if Switzerland beats England? And also Netherlands and Turkey promises to be quite a humdinger of a game.
That's going to be a humdinger because you know, Netherlands have been disappointing. Turkey have been one of those surprise teams.
Yes, they have.
Like the way they play. I think that game's going to go all the way to extra time, might even go to penalties. And then I think England are going home. Get that jet warmed up. I think they'll be going home after this game.
Wow. So, what do you think? Send us your tweets, of course, at #GameOn. Are England going home? And after that performance, send Shane a tweet as well to tell him whether you're celebrating England going home or winning if they do get one over Switzerland. And another game to look forward to, of course, is Netherlands and Turkey. So that's the end of this first segment. On the other side of this, we do have Jerry Skosana. We talk about things more local before we have a great guest later on in the show.
Check these guys. Let's show them how to done. I see it. Let's have a
Your feet like this.
Let's see how you play.
Your feet like this.
Welcome back to Game On. Now, we've had a week of shocks in as far as things locally, starting with the COSAFA Cup, of course, with Zambia out in the group stages. Zimbabwe, who looked good in the opening 2 matches, out, and most importantly, from a South African point of view, the host nation out in the group stages as well after struggling for goals and results. Now, Jerry Skosana joins me. And Jay, firstly, let's talk about the biggest shock earlier in the week. Rulani Mgwena parting ways with Mamelodi Sundowns. Did you see it coming, and your thoughts on it?
All thanks, Sizwe. I'm still shocked. I'm still surprised, you know, because I never expected this to happen. I mean, Rulani has been good, player, coach of the year. The team has won the DStv Premiership. So I'm really shocked. I don't know what to say, honestly. It's just a big shock.
Well, I think that's the natural reaction for many people with the Sundowns and the way they won the season, had comfortably won the DStv Premiership and also the African League then, and winning that and, well, getting to the semi-finals of the Champions League, finals of the Nedbank Cup. Still, they parted ways. Now, let's switch focus and talk the COSAFA Cup. Big concern from a South African point of view, as hosts, Helman Kelele, of course, leading the team out in Gqeberha, getting out of the group stages with a team that really struggled in those group stages. What do you make of South Africa, the way we look at the COSAFA Cup, the relationship between the PSL and SAFA, and the teams from the PSL releasing players and the difficulties with us in this tournament?
I think in South Africa, we don't take COSAFA so seriously. But uma ubuka back, mangbuka players that were there before, that have made it to Ibafana Bafana with your Bruce or like a player like Omukwena. He started there in the COSAFA when they were playing in Durban. So it was a good thing. But now you've got players that their teams have been relegated, players that we cannot even use going forward for Ibafana Bafana, let's say in the qualifiers. If Hugo Bruce come back and ask Helme, how many players do you recommend to come to the Bafana Bafana? So why did you have to make Ibafana Bafana, Iego COSAFA, when there are no players that will be groomed to come to the senior Bafana Bafana? So for me, Banga qualify, that's the reason. And there is no relationship between the three parties, PSL, SAFA, and the clubs.
Now, so many of the coaches, and Max Mapanani asked them in the first round of matches what we're looking to accomplish with this COSAFA Cup. All of them, just about all of the coaches said we're looking to use young players that we could include in the squad for World Cup qualifiers and AFCON qualifiers that are coming up in the future. From a South African point of view, do you think we are using the COSAFA Cup to groom young players to possibly beef up the senior national team, Yaga Hugo Bruce?
No good scenario, we're not. If you look at the players that were used, I mean, 4 players from Cape Town Spurs who got relegated, being in the Bafana fold. How are you going to look at those players when they're playing their trade in the championship? I mean, really, we just like, for me, maybe wasting time with this COSAFA Cup because we're not doing the right platform of grooming players for Bafana senior team. So for me, I don't think it's a good thing for what is happening in terms of selection of players from Gohelman.
All right, now what do we need to do to get it right going forward? We've talked about the problems, but what are the solutions here?
I mean, Hugo Bruce did mention before that if coaches don't come together, he doesn't have the support of the local coaches, it's going to be a problem. So now if there is a problem from Hugo Bruce with that complaint of coaches not releasing some of the players that he's looking for, and then you go to COSAFA, it's worse because coaches says, no, COSAFA is worse. If we denied Hugo Bruce quality players that he's looking for, why do we have to release them to COSAFA?
As a club owner yourself, I'm glad you answered that way.
Yep.
But now, what do you do when your club starts pre-season and the COSAFA Cup is starting? What would you do if it was your players that were selected for that and your pre-season was starting? Where would your priority be as a club owner?
In my team. I mean, the priority will be in my team. I'm looking for my team to survive. I'll be having all the players for the preseason, making sure that I'm looking after my team. I wouldn't mind with the COSAFA Cup. So really, that's exactly what is happening now.
Yeah.
You know, because the time factor, you know, the planning, COSAFA Cup, preseason of the clubs. Obviously, the COSAFA squad cannot be as strong as it's supposed to be in terms of grooming players, you know. Because if you look at the players, I was at one stage looking for maybe Sanele Barnes, who made a mark for himself at Richards Bay, and then he was supposed to be there just for continuity. We know he's going for Stellenbosch as a new signee, but you also want to see those players getting a chance for Bafana because that was the right time.
In all fairness, all honesty, even in the COSAFA Women's Championships, we've seen Coach Desiree Ellis struggling to get the best available, even young players, depending on the timing of the tournament and what's going on in their local game as well. So is it fair to say, for South Africa, we're struggling at coordinating this COSAFA Cup for the women's game, the men's game, the clubs involved, and all of the administrators in taking this seriously?
Yeah, we need to look at that. We need to look at that because I ends into to everybody in South Africa because COSAFA Cup abayithatheli njenge competition ephezulu eletha something for bona. It's just something because they always hosting it in South Africa. Maybe mayingakisuki eZambia or eZimbabwe or eLesotho or Botswana, maybe. But manje, I don't think they are taking it serious because we always hosting it here in South Africa.
So that is the big question. For you sitting at home, Senator, please tell us what you think. Should South Africa maybe relook at the usefulness of the COSAFA Cup and beefing up the women's team in as far as the South African national team, including the men's team, for the betterment of football in the whole in the country going forward? Stay with Game On. On the other side of this, the special guest we told you about, that of course is Coach Pitso Mosimane. Welcome back to Game On Now. As we promised you at the top of the show, footballing royalty joining us here on Game On this Saturday with Pitso Mosimane, Coach Pitso Mosimane, joining us in the studio. Thank you so much for your time, Coach Pitso. And I have to ask you, in getting straight into it, over the last few years, you've spent so much time as a well-traveled man, a traveling man in the way of football. What have you learned in your travels and your successes abroad?
Yeah, thanks. It's good to see you also as a person. And thanks for the invite on Game On.
It's only a pleasure.
Yeah, humbled. What's your question?
What have you learned in your travels and your successes? And if there are any failures, maybe highlight those as well, where you feel you could have done better, in your time abroad especially.
Yeah, well, you know how life is. Life is never the same. You can never be saying everything is going up like this. It's always, it's a graph, man.
Yeah.
And it's a normal graph, to be honest. Because I don't know anybody who's just having his life going up like this.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if he has, he must share the formula with us. Yeah, there have been a lot of good things happening. There's been a lot of adventure happening. And in football, we don't like to say failures. We say lessons. Lessons learned. Yeah, there's been a lot of things. There's been a lot of travel. And I think the main thing is the safari, the adventure, navigating, just coming out of the borders of South Africa in football. And for me, it was moving out of the comfort zone because I felt that it was good at Mamelodi Sundowns, but once you win the treble, and there was another treble also with the Champions League, Telkom Cup and the league, so 2 trebles, and 5 premiership titles, 5 times coach of the season, and few Nedbanks and Telkom Cups, and I said, no, but come on. You can never be sitting around here. Can you find something that is going to challenge you and see, navigate? And the main thing was always for me, I said, why is the North African space dominating African football? North African teams are dominating African football.
They have been for a while.
Still today. So I said, I had this thing, the itch to say, I want to know.
Do you know that answer today?
Yeah, I know now. Why is Tunisia a powerhouse? You find Esperance there.
Yeah.
You find Tunis all the time in the World Cup. Why is Raja Casablanca, Wydad, Fus Rabat, why are those teams dominant in CAF? In Morocco, national team, you find them in the semi-finals of the World Cup.
True.
Why is Egypt a powerhouse of African football? Nobody can put the Champions League titles like Al Ahly on the table. I think they've won the league maybe 43 times, 44 times. And why has Egyptian national team been a powerhouse also? They've dominated CAF. If you have to say AFCON titles, who has won them on? It's Egyptians. Who won the Africa Champions League a lot is Egyptians and Morocco's and Algeria and Tunisia. Who has won the Confederation Cup? It's yesterday, today, last year.
And possibly tomorrow.
Yes, so I said to myself, no, I need to see what's happening there, and I think that's the place to test yourself, move out of your comfort zone. Then I moved out. That's when I went to Egypt, and Yes, I think it's the same story like maybe Rulani now. Everybody says, what happened? Why? You know? But yeah, I had to move just to move out of my comfort zone.
And now, many South Africans have wondered over the years, maybe since your generation, when so many of you were playing abroad, why that's not happening to the current generation. But also, whilst they are moving abroad or trying to move abroad, is the northern option, what's happened with Pesitao, going out to go play in Egypt. Should our players also be thinking North Africa to improve, rather than maybe trying to get just to Europe in trying to expand and learn about the game of football?
There's a good...
And why aren't we moving players?
It's a good thing and happening here, and also can be our challenge of moving. If you take, for example, you go to Zimbabwe, you find Nakamba not even playing in the Premier League, but not even playing in South Africa, but you find him in Aston Villa. Why? How you find Fashion Sakala in Saudi League, and he's bossing the Saudi League. He's playing as a right winger. To be honest, for me, in my opinion, he's contributing more than Riyad Mahrez in the same position. No, it's true. How you find Pitso Mosimane, you find him at Leicester City. You never found him here. How? What makes that? And what makes the West Africans, especially Nigerians, why you find them in Europe? So one of the things that contributes for them to go to Europe is their local leagues are not as strong as South African league. So they take a chance to go. Wherever they find, they go. Here, South African league, our players the league is better, stronger, financially okay. So why should I move?
Wise words from Pitso Mosimane. Thanks for your time, Coach.
You're welcome. Thanks.
Sure.
Bye.
Now remember, that was part one of our chat with Pitso Mosimane. We'll continue with part two next week. So make sure you watch Game On next week, Saturday, for part two of that great chat we had with Pitso Mosimane. Now, the HollywoodBets Men's Regional League playoffs are happening out in KZN most recently, and let's find out more about them. And before we waste any further time, let's get down to the action.
At the start of the 2023-2024 football season, HollywoodBets partnered with the South African Football Association to sponsor the fourth tier of professional football in the country, the Men's Regional League.
HollywoodBets are the title sponsors of the HollywoodBets Men's Regional League, which is played throughout South Africa. Again, it's really exciting for us to be a part of this groundbreaking developmental league that plows a lot of quality into the development of the next wave of talent in South African football.
Since we started this season in this league, after it has been sponsored by HollywoodBet, the excitement is very high in all corners of our province, I believe in the whole country.
KZN has 11 regions where teams play each other in a league on a weekly basis. The top teams from each region participate in a playoff tournament at the end of the season, and the KZN playoffs took place in Pietermaritzburg recently.
Each region been having teams not less than 20. So they played from the beginning of the season until the top team was titled as a winner. Then those are the top teams from 11 regions that has reached this stage.
The two teams that made it to the finals earned promotion to the ABC Motsepe League. Junior 11 and Ulundi United were the teams that achieved this coveted goal.
Sekudinga-ke manje ukuthi ukulungiselela kwethu kuhluke kakhulu ngoba i-challenge yakhona ngicabanga ukuthi inkulu kakhulu, that's why kuyisigaba esingaphezulu kulesi ekade sikusona.
I think we all going to be ready in due time. We're all going to be ready mentally, physically, and also emotionally, knowing that it's a game of football, so we all need all those aspects.
Kulokho mfethu ngizothanda ukubonga futhi kakhulu ukubonga uchairman ngibonge ne-technical team yami bengisebenzisana nayo ngibonge nabantu engithe ngibacela noma bathi sebecelwa na uchairman ukuthi basilethele bona semlakha ama-coach la ngase aphambili kumina nge-level of i-coaching.
Engakusho nje kakhulu ama-preparation ethu next season ayisofayithela ukuthi ngoba sine-squad esi-right even i-management yethu I'm sure ukuthi ihlele ngendlela e-right ngoba indlela sitrithwa ngayo vele ahle siyi-level yale kuMotsepe.
Former Orlando Pirates midfielder Andile Cele shared his thoughts on the importance of such tournaments as part of the development structures of South African football.
We really believe that these are the kinds of tournaments and the focus points should be in these kinds of structures for Bafana to do well in the future. These initiatives should not be taken for granted.
Junior 11 won the final in stunning fashion, scoring in extra time. Congratulations to both Junior 11 and Ulundi United, who will be plying their trade in the ABC Motsepe League come the start of the new season.